Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out one of the top ranked Zacian teams from the last ranked season. This was able to finish number 17 on the ladder, built and piloted by a Japanese player called Can't Fly. I've linked their Twitter down in the description below, as well as the team report written by them in Japanese, so huge shoutouts to them for the team. Obviously, Zacian continues to be one of the most dominant Pokemon in Series 10 and has a lot of classic support on this team like Rillaboom, Incineroar, and Landorus. Those are not anything new, but the main reason I wanted to feature this team is because it has Pelipper and Grimmsnarl, and both of these sets are really super interesting to me. So first of all, starting with Expert Belt Pelipper, this is a Pokemon that actually does a substantial amount of damage. If you think about the fact that a lot of the most common non-restricted Pokemon actually take a ton of damage from Pelipper, right? For example, Rillaboom and Incineroar, both of those get demolished by Hurricane and Weather Ball respectively. Pelipper is also pretty valuable into Urshifu, for example, because you have a super effective Hurricane. You can fish for Confusions as well. And so Pelipper is actually a really good offensive Pokemon in this format. I think normally when I think of Pelipper in previous VGC formats, I expect like Focus Sash, just max special attack, max speed. This Pelipper is actually a little bit bulkier, and that's because you have Intimidate on Incineroar on this team, as well as Light Screen on Grimmsnarl, so you can enable Pelipper to stick around for a little bit longer. So Weather Ball and Hurricane already deal large amounts of damage, and because you have the bulk, the Focus Sash isn't as valuable. Instead, you have Expert Belt, which is a really cool item that further allows you to potentially one-shot Incineroar or Rillaboom, for example, depending on their EV spread and their items, as well as Amoonguss. So Pelipper just actually hits a lot of the most common non-restricted Pokemon for huge amounts of damage, and it also gets access to Wide Guard. Wide Guard's really nice because you think about how most of the top restricted Pokemon use spread type attacks, right? Kyogre with Water Spout, Groudon with Precipice Blade, Xerneas with Dazzling Gleam, Calyrex Shadow Rider with Astral Barrage. There's so much spread type damage in this format that Wide Guard is just naturally a good attack to have. And even though, normally when players run into Pelipper, they expect Wide Guard to come out, it's still nice, right? Because it means just the presence of Pelipper will often force your opponent to using a non-spread attack, and that in itself is really valuable considering how strong the spread type attacks on the top restricted Pokemon are. So, yeah. Bulky Pelipper with Expert Belt, I think it's just a super interesting set, and Pelipper is a Pokemon that has been on my radar as a Zacian partner for quite a while now, like I feel like over a month or so, but at the same time, I think like this set in particular is really fun. Normally when I see Pelipper, I also expect Tailwind, and this set doesn't even have Tailwind. It's just designed to deal large amounts of damage, set up the rain to protect Zacian, and also support the team with Wide Guard. And then you have a really interesting Grimmsnarl set here, right? It's got Spirit Break, Protect, Light Screen, and Trick. So Trick Iron Ball / Full Instance was really popular, in the earlier formats, especially when you can get that onto a Dynamax Pokemon and basically shut it down very early on. And the idea is similar here, where you basically try to trick onto a restricted Pokemon and make that Pokemon a lot less effective. Light Screen's really nice to have here just because, you already cover for physical damage with Intimidate from Incineroar, so covering for the special side is nice, and it's like it dramatically increases your bulk. You think about, once again, the top restricted Pokemon, a lot are, of course, special attackers, Kyogre, Calyrex, and so Light Screen obviously gives you a substantial advantage against both of those. Spirit Break is standard, and then finally you've got Protect. I really like Protect because Grimmsnarl is one of those Pokemon that, like, most of the time you expect it to not have Protect, right? So as a result, a lot of players will often, like, double up into it with the mindset that they'll get, like, a safe attack off, but, like, because you have Protect, you can completely waste a turn from your opponents and take away a lot of pressure from them, basically. So, yeah. I think the Pelipper and Grimm here are both really crucial members to this team. The Incin, the Rillaboom, the Lando, those are all, really standard sets. One thing to note here is that both Landers and Zacian are a little bit slower, but they both have Substitute. Sub is really nice just because, first of all, there's a lot of Fake Out in the format, and obviously Amoonguss is also a really relevant Pokemon in the format. And so Sub, like, if you get a safe Sub up, then your opponent can't just cycle in Fake Outs and deny Zacian and Landorus attacks the subsequent turn. The Subs also just help out against things like Spore from Amoonguss, for example, and it's just generally good utility. So Substitute was one of the most common moves in VGCs back in the day, and in a Dynamax format and throughout all of Sword and Shield, we haven't seen it, being used nearly as much, but I think it is definitely one of the stronger moves on Zacian and Lando in this format, so yeah, not super surprising to see it there. And then finally, just to note, Instant has Safety Goggles and Taunt, so that's going to be your best answer into Amoonguss, but this team really makes Amoonguss, like, work for it, because you've got Expert Belt Hurricane on Pelipper, you've got Goggles on Instant with Taunt, you've got Rillaboom, and then Sub on Zacian and Landorus, so Amoonguss is, just really one of the strongest Pokemon in terms of utility in this format, and this team makes it a lot harder for Amoonguss to just, like, freely Spore, which I think is really nice. So, yeah, like I mentioned, this was one of the top-ranked teams from the last season, definitely one of the best Zacian teams I've seen running around, so if you're looking, once again, for a good team to climb the ladder with, would highly recommend this. But thanks to Campfly for the team, details in the description below, and yeah, thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoy, please show support by leaving a like, I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, kind of a fun one, but I want to know what restricted Pokemon you would think would win in a fist fight, so let me know in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, getting into things here, and we're up against... Didn't we go up against this exact team, just a few days ago? I feel like we did. Okay. So, into rain, it's going to be Rillaboom, Zacian, and Grimmsnarl for sure. And then, what do I want as the fourth? The team creator in their team report actually has, like, a flow chart for, like, how you might want to approach matchups. So their recommended against Tornogre is Zacian plus Rillaboom or Grimmsnarl, and then in the back, Pelipper plus Grimmsnarl or Rillaboom. And so Pelipper, yeah, as a fourth makes sense because it has wide guards. That's obviously really helpful into the Kyogre. And if I remember, at least last time I went up against this team, it's Origin Pulse and Water Spout, so it doesn't actually have Scald, meaning it's really shut down by wide guard. The problem is that there's Togedemaru and Thundurus-T on my opponent's end, right? So they have Tsareena as well, which is obviously slightly concerning. I don't mind Grimmsnarl plus Zacian lead with Rillaboom and Pelipper in the back. Lando just doesn't make much sense here at all, and Incin doesn't really either. If I'm my opponent, what would I go with? Tsareena, Kyogre, Tornadus, and one of Thundurus-T or Togedemaru. Probably Thundurus-T. Okay, let's see how this plays out. Interesting to see this rain archetype. I don't remember if this is the same opponent we played a couple of days ago, but it's interesting to see this like pop up in popularity. And yeah, the Thundurus-T plus Togedemaru combo is actually really tough to go up against last time I played against this team comp. So we'll see if it's gonna be. I mean, we don't have a Lecky this time, right? So we don't have Scarf Lecky, so it'll at least be a little bit more manageable. This is a pretty like passive lead with this team. It's like safe and guaranteeing Tailwind basically. But I actually don't mind it very much. The Incin lead is obviously very good from there, and though, right, you're able to intimidate the Zacian immediately. So what do I want to do turn one? There's not much value in clicking Light Screen yet. There's also not much value in conserving my trick. I can just Spirit Break for chip, honestly, into Tornadus, and then switch Zacian out into Pelipper is what I'm leaning towards right now. I could go into Rillaboom as well, but the thing is I risk a Flare Blitz into either slot. Yeah, I'm down to switch out into Pelipper here. I mean, I think it's actually, if you're my opponent, I would probably Tailwind and Parting Shot into Zacian. But I don't want to risk eating up a Flare Blitz this early on in the game, so yeah. Oh, I could double Protect, actually, just to burn a turn of their Tailwind. But I think I'm fine going Spirit Break into Tornadus and then switching on into Pelipper. I also could have gone Spirit Break into Incineroar if I was expecting Parting Shot. That turned into an attacker like Kyogre in the back. So, we'll see. If we can get the Iron Ball onto the Kyogre, that would be huge. The main thing right now is what my opponent's fourth Pokemon is, because Tsareena is obviously going to be an issue. Okay, they just opt for Fake Out. Cool, that's fine by me. And they Tailwind, and the reason why I'm okay with this is because, like, now you have already spent one turn of Tailwind, right? It's likely, if you're my opponent, that you're going to Parting Shot into either Tsareena or the Kyogre. So I don't mind going for a Spirit Break right now onto the Incineroar slot. And with Pelipper, what do I want to go for? I think Spirit Break and Hurricane is fine here. I just don't see Incin ever staying in. And it would mean either a Spirit Break and a Hurricane onto a Kyogre switch in, or a Tsareena, both which are pretty valuable for us here. So, yeah, I actually don't mind going for this. Okay, they go for Taunt onto Pelipper. That's fine. And it's U-turn. Okay, if you're going for U-turn over a Parting Shot, that likely indicates Assault Vest. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, I think Incin was always going to try to swap out there. So whatever's coming in is going to take a pretty big hit, right? It's not like the most amount of damage, but it'll be a special attack drop onto the Kyogre, as well as some free damage, and a potential Hurricane Confusion as well. So there's Hurricane. That's very good damage, actually. No confusion, but that's fine. And because they didn't Parting Shot, I mean, we'll do a little bit more with Spirit Break. Yeah, like getting Kyogre down to 40% already is obviously quite nice. So both of these are putting in a fair amount of work. The other cool thing is that the Tornadus here can't actually go for a taunt onto Grimmsnarl because we're Dark type, and Prankster Taunt doesn't work on Dark type Pokemon, which is really nice. So like it's pretty free for me to set up a Light Screen right now, I feel like, and then go for a Weather Ball. Actually, would I rather Weather Ball or Hurricane here? I don't see instant switching back in, and then Hurricane also gives me confusion while also potentially catching a Tsareena switch in. So I think Light Screen and Hurricane into Tornadus here is fine. I actually don't really mind, like, I'm not targeting Kyogre because I have that Rillaboom in the back, right? So they're probably going to Origin Pulse here, but with Light Screen and Kyogre being at -1, it's not as scary. It's going to be Hurricane onto Grimm. That's fine. Pretty good damage there. Okay, this Kyogre does have Scald, so Grimmsnarl hangs on. Do we get burnt? We don't. Okay, that's absolutely huge. Wow, fantastic. Hurricane there does almost 50%, and that is the eject button. Yes. So I thought last time I played this team I had Origin Pulse over Scald, but maybe I'm just misremembering it for another Kyogre. And there's Tsareena coming in. Okay, cool. So that blocks any Pryolite I have right now. It's their last turn of Tailwind, meaning that they'll probably get another Tailwind up. That's fine. 2 turns of Rain left. You're not really threatening Pelipper with that much damage, which is the upside. I've got Zacian and Rillaboom in the back. Like, their Incineroar is actually a pretty big offensive tool for them, so I still have to be pretty careful about that. I don't know if I really get that much value in conserving Grimmsnarl at this point, so I'm down to just, like, Spirit Break and Hurricane into the Tsareena slot. I don't really think I get that much value here, but I could see Kyogre switching out. Oh, okay, they are going to make the read that I tried to protect there. That looks like a crit to me. Oh, it's not even. Wow, that was a lot of damage, but yeah, they end up doubling into that slot, expecting Grimm to either protect or switch out, and we actually just one-shot Tsareena. Pelipper's been the MVP of this game. This is wild. Is that... it's got to be CN since Kyogre, right? I mean, it could be Specs. I just really thought Pelipper would take a Scald better with Light Screen up. But we're obviously in a decent spot right now. But the game's definitely not over. They're going to bring Incineroar out. Okay, Incin coming out is fine. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is Assault Vested. Kyogre's at -1. I could obviously double protect, so one play for my opponent to make is maybe... I mean, Tailwind just ended. Your Scald's not going to KO me. Like, I would definitely switch Kyogre out if I were my opponent's shoes right now. I'd switch Kyogre out, and then, like... Does a Dark-type attack KO... I mean, Pelipper should also potentially outspeed Incin here. Okay, I'm down to Spirit Break into Kyogre and just Weather Ball into Incin here. It's fairly obvious, but I feel like it's fine. Oh, they just forfeit. That game was not 100% over. I think, like, they definitely had comeback potential. But, yeah, we didn't even use Zacian in that game. Like, Grimmsnarl and Pelipper completely carried us. So, shouts to Pelipper. I think the main thing is when my opponent leads Incineroar plus Tsareena, you really lock yourself. Or, sorry, Incineroar plus Tornadus. You have no, like, offensive pressure, really. You do have Flare Blitz pressure into Zacian, I guess. But, like, there's not that much damage. Especially when I get Pelipper in for free on turn 1, right? Like, they did not have a safe play on turn 2 as well. We're up against rank 18. That's cool. And it's a Calyrex Shadow Rider team. Okay. Calyrex Shadow Rider is interesting, especially because they have the Mienshao. So, like, I've got Grimmsnarl. Lando's not bad. Grimm with Light Screen in itself is really valuable, so I think Grimm is probably going to be one of the most important Pokemon for us here, just to get Light Screen up. Grimm, Zacian for sure. Pelipper has Weather Ball into... I mean, like, part of the value of Pelipper is how good it is into so many of the non-restricteds, right? So I'll probably want to bring Pelipper here. And then, like, Incin actually makes sense, but we do have an AV Rillaboom, and it feels very odd to not bring AV Rillaboom. Now, note that we don't have knockoff here, but, you know, Drum Beating Grassy Glide still pretty valuable. The thing is, we have Goggles Incin, and Goggles Incin is obviously going to be super good into their Amoonguss, which otherwise is going to give us a lot of issue. But we don't have a Dark-type attack on this. It's not like we cleanly knock out. I could drop Pelipper for Incin Rillaboom. But Pelipper is wide guard. Wait, that's actually a big reason to also bring it. Okay, Grim, Zacian. All of her Pokemon are good here. Pelipper. I think... I'm going with Incineroar, but I actually think Rillaboom might be the call here. Mainly because Incin doesn't really pressure enough with damage. I wanted to bring it for Goggles, but Rillaboom also would be... Like, you wouldn't be able to Spore it. This was one in which, like, all of the Pokemon are good, so I'm not sure I actually chose the best for, but... The good thing is that, like, since everything is good, even if we didn't necessarily make the best choices, it's still okay. And they go with the Amoonguss and the Calyrex. Okay, that works for me. Now, this is interesting, because if you're my opponent... The first question I have is, do you know this team? They're a high-ranked Japanese player, and so, yeah, I would assume that they've actually, like, seen the details for this team, meaning that you don't have to be as worried about, like, a turn 1 Sucker Punch into Calyrex, giving you more room to play with. Because the play I want to go for is a Light Screen here, and then switching Zacian out into the Incineroar. I could also Protect Grim and switch into Incin. That's, like, a really safe play. In case they end up sporing the Grimmsnarl slot. Could also just attack with both Pokemon here. It's honestly not a terrible idea. We have Sub. Honestly, I think I'm going to play it safe turn 1 and, yeah, just go for the Protect and switch into Incin play. Because then, turn 2, I can deny a single Spore onto Amoonguss because I can just taunt the Amoonguss and then Light Screen with Grimmsnarl. If we had a Dark-type attack on Incineroar right now, an offensive Dark-type attack, Calyrex would be in such a terrible position. But, yeah, one of the main questions I have is whether or not my opponent, like, knows about the details of this team. Because if not, then you would be maybe potentially, like, go for a Rage Powder. Yeah, to avoid Sucker Punch. So, like, I could have set up Light Screen there, right? But I'd rather just play it safe here. Because if we get hit by Spore, that's not exactly the most ideal turn 1 for us. This also allows me to confirm whether or not they're Life Orb or not, which is a big piece of information in this matchup. Okay. 202 down to 136. Yeah, I'm going to Light Screen right now. I can see their Calyrex switching out. I'm down to just Light Screen and Taunt into Amoonguss. It makes Amoonguss completely useless. They just go for Rage Powder. Okay, they did not respect Goggles Incin with the Dark-type attack, but like I said, maybe they know the details of the team. I'm fine with that, though. I get a free Light Screen, which is obviously really valuable. The issue is just not dealing enough damage quickly enough, right? So, 136 down to... 89. Okay, that's not too much. That's not too much. Amoonguss is taunted, so you surely expect it to switch out this turn. You could protect the Calyrex. I'm down to go for a Trick now until a Calyrex, and with Incin, go for a Parting Shot onto whatever comes in. That gives me a free switch in. Okay, what would Amoonguss switch out into right now? One of the Fake Out users, Incin or Rillaboom. Yeah, the issue here is I just haven't done any damage in a Calyrex yet, which is part of the problem. Trick seems fine. It's probably Focus Sash. Yeah, I'm down for Trick Parting Shot here. I think Amoonguss switches out for sure. Oh, they might be double switching. Okay, into Incin, so I don't get the Trick off, but that's actually not much of an issue. So the curious thing here is now, who does Amoonguss switch into? I feel like I don't know, like, we have a team advantage here, but I didn't play the early game super well. And, oh, wow. They're actually going to stay in with Amoonguss. Okay. This gives me a free switch into Zacian, which means now I can potentially substitute. But I need to start dealing damage. That's the main problem, right? Actually, no. I like, Pelipper is obviously such a good switch in here. But there's a chance... Oh, no, they can't Spore us. Wait, yeah, so we always go to Pelipper. Never mind. You're trying to think... Last turn, I could have Flare Blitzed rather than taunting onto a Calyrex, and that would have been like 40% of damage, at least. Alright, they actually have Sludge Bomb. That explains why they stay in, but it's not much damage at all, so I'm fine with that. Okay, now if you're my opponent, you could obviously click Fake Out into Pelipper. You kind of have to, I think. I'm going to switch out into Zacian and go for a Weather Ball. I doubt I get the Weather Ball off, but if for some reason they don't click Fake Out into Pelipper, that's a potential free knockout they give us. But The tricky thing here is now I do get my Calyrex in safely, and I have Light Screen up. But then the thing is, if I wanted Light Screen up, like, I could have just stayed in with Calyrex turn 1, honestly, and just clicked Light Screen Behemoth Blade. But I think I had to respect... Oh, they actually switched Incin out. Okay, into Mienshao, I'm fine with that. That's interesting. I guess the issue is that Amoonguss' taunt is going to wear off. I could have Hurricaned the Incin slot there, but I'm fine going for a Weather Ball. Could have Hurricaned the Amoonguss slot. I think there they were expecting Pelipper to protect, so then they can cycle Fake Out again, which is honestly really smart. This is Expert Pelipper, by the way, so Hurricane might just one-shot Amoonguss. Yeah, so they're Focus Sash on... What is the item on Calyrex is my question right now. Okay. You still have 2 turns of Light Screen. They just got Mienshao in. And Amoonguss, I believe, is taunted for 1 more turn. Yeah. So I don't risk a Spore right now, meaning it's really safe to click Substitute and Hurricane. Yeah. That taunt earlier was such a big deal, so I do think Incin was probably the right decision. This is probably Incin coming in, though. Oh, no, they bring Calyrex out. Okay. Let's see where the Fake Out's going. I mean, maybe they don't Fake Out, but that would be really surprising. But this is the upside of now having Pelipper out on the field, right? I can Wide Guard this next turn. Okay, and they just target Pelipper, meaning I get a free sub up. Cool. That was an opportunity to go for a Behemoth Blade, but I don't mind getting a free substitute up in this position. So, 1 turn of Light Screen left. I've got Wide Guard on this. It is relatively safe to... What do I do here? Because there's a chance if you're my opponent, you protect Calyrex and then close combat to break the sub. That'd be a really good play, actually. Because I have Wide Guard, I think I'm willing to go for a Behemoth Blade here onto Mienshao. And just Hurricane into Calyrex. Because I'm not even sure an Astral Barrage KOs with Light Screen being up right now. Shadow Ball. That shouldn't KO us, right? That changes everything. Because if that doesn't KO us and we get damage there, yeah, that's a tilter. Okay. I don't think that KOs with Light Screen up unless they're Choice Specs. If they have Shadow Ball, like, I really feel like they might be Scarfed here, but I could have protected Pelipper there, but that turn I felt like it was worth it to try to go for an attack. The issue is that I just lost my best offense into both Incin and Amoonguss right now. Like, Pelipper was so good offensively into this matchup. So now they can either bring in Amoonguss or their Incineroar. Shadow Ball? I think I like going out into Grimmsnarl here, because I can protect into Light Screen. Yeah, that's a frustrating crit. Maybe it didn't matter, I'm not 100% sure, but no, we won't really get to know. Then bringing Incin is fine though, right? Because now I can go for... Like, the issue of not getting attack here is I'm not sure the Behemoth Blade KOs the Calyrex, and I don't have Sucker Punch on Grimm either. And now their Incin is a very big offensive tool for them. So here I want to go for Behemoth Blade onto Calyrex and just protect with the Grimmsnarl. This is going to be a close finish. I don't know. I'm not very pleased about how I played this one. Like, yeah, we got crit, but it just feels like I could have played better. Because I do feel like we have a significant team advantage here. Yeah, they double up on a Grimm. Okay, so not expecting Protect. That's huge, obviously. Because I just got a ton of free damage. I don't think this one-shots, but we'll see. I really think they're Choice Scarfed on Calyrex. That's my guess. Oh, that does one-shot. Nice. That was a crit. Okay, crit for a crit. I guess I'll take it. That's obviously super lucky, but makes up for the crit earlier. But maybe the crit earlier didn't matter. Like maybe, yeah, like, they were going to KO Pelipper anyway. I was just thinking because it's bulky Pelipper and we have Light Screen that they wouldn't be able to, but I'm not 100% sure about the damage calc there. Okay, Amoonguss comes out. We still have sub up. If you're my opponent, you would need to Flare Blitz. Like, you would need to double up on Zacian. So the safe play here is to always protect Zacian and switch into Incineroar because we don't take any damage with Incin. They could Sludge Bomb. So actually, you could read into this and then, like, yeah, go for a Sludge Bomb, crit Poison onto my Incin switch in here. But with my Incin out now, what I can do the subsequent turn is just fake out their Incineroar to deny them a Flare Blitz, meaning they also can't Spore, and I can actually just taunt the Amoonguss straight up. So, like, this is just the safest play, because the one way we lose here is if they Flare Blitz and Spore into the Zacian slot, because the Blade or Play Rough won't KO either. Yeah, and that's what they're going for. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that should win us the game. Now, I can just taunt Amoonguss and play rough into Incineroar. Actually, I'm trying to think what the best play with Zacian here is. Yeah, I'm fine with play rough here into Incin. Even if we miss, it's not the end of the world. And once Amoonguss is taunted, then it's very easy to obviously KO. Yeah, that should be game. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This one was like, I didn't know the Calyrex item, and I really feel like I misused Pelipper. Like, Pelipper really was going to be the MVP of this one, and even though it went down earlier than, I would have liked it to, it still put on a lot of offensive pressure. So this Expert Belt set's really interesting. I think the main thing is I missed the opportunity to Hurricane the Amoonguss the turn that they switched the Mienshao in. But I guess the taunted Amoonguss wasn't really pressuring us very much, so it wasn't very scary in terms of damage. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can see, like, how well the Grimmsnarl and Pelipper fit into this team, though, so I'm really, really pleased about his performance. And in the end, I do think Incineroar was the right decision for us to bring. In that last one, I didn't even consider the possibility of Amoonguss having Sludge Bomb, but had I brought Rillaboom in that last one, then the Rillaboom actually would have gotten hit by multiple Sludge Bombs, and that would have been an issue. Having Protect on Grimmsnarl in this game was also huge, because it denied my opponent, that one turn, and then we were able to just one-shot the Calyrex with that fortunate crit. If we didn't get that crit, I think the subsequent turn, I'd probably just go for a Light Screen. The subsequent turn would actually be really tough, because then they could potentially Shadow Ball and Flare Blitz into me. So instead of Light Screening, I would actually probably swap the Grim out into Incin and then Blade if we didn't KO. So, yeah. And I don't know the damage roll from Shadow Ball Calyrex into Pelipper with Light Screen being up. So, yeah. The main thing I was thinking there is that they weren't Life Orb, so that they don't get the extra burst in damage, but maybe their crit actually didn't matter. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, yeah, let's look for another one. Alright, next one here, and we are up against Kyogre again, with Mimikyu, Ferrothorn, and Amoonguss. Huh. So we might actually need to bring Incin here. If I'm my opponent, I'm going Incin, Zapdos, Kyogre for sure, because you need a lot of anti-Rillaboom. And then probably Ferro is the fourth. Zapdos is a big issue for us here. At least we have Play Rough on Zacian, though. But, like, Incin Zapdos on my opponent's end seems really good. I think, like, Grim, Rillaboom, Zacian are must-brings. Pelipper is still so good. It's just I need to eliminate Zapdos then. Because our damage output into Zapdos is pretty subpar here. Also, like, they could go the top 4 Pokemon, right? Yeah, it's weird because I want to bring Incin, but it's so weak into Kyogre and just... it doesn't feel worth it over everything else, so... because we have sub on Zacian, maybe I feel a little bit better. Like, I can sub and switch in a Rillaboom to completely deny a Spore, basically. So, I'm thinking we go Grimmsnarl, Zacian, Rillaboom, Pelipper. The main priority, I think, ideally, will be to KO Zapdos as quickly as possible, because once Zapdos is eliminated, that paves the way for Pelipper. Another thing we can do is trick the Iron Ball onto the Zapdos, because if we get the Iron Ball into it, then... Pelipper will outspeed it for sure, and if we like play rough into Weather Ball, I'm thinking it might be enough for a KO onto Zapdos. So I'm just trying to figure out like different permutations of ways we can KO Zapdos. They're gonna go Mimikyu Kyogre. Okay, that's definitely not what I was expecting. This is concerning for multiple reasons. Will-O-Wisp on Mimikyu, Trick Room on Mimikyu. This is where Trick Iron Ball is like super good though, so I am down, I think, to go for a trick on Kyogre turn 1. It's not a bad position for Pelipper to actually switch into. Trick Protect feels okay. I just risk a Will-O-Wisp onto, or sorry, a Play Rough onto Grim. Good switch. Yeah, that's a very good play. Now the question is what they went for with Mimikyu. I don't mind not getting the trick off. This is the tough thing about trick, right? Like, Instance on so many teams, and so you just switch into it. But that was a nice play by them. Could have subbed with Zacian there, too. They played turn 1 perfectly. Okay. That's bad. I didn't think that would one-shot. Ah, it's the Life Orb MImikyu. Okay. That is troublesome. So the question is basically whether or not... that was like brilliant played by them on turn 1. You know, I had like ways to get around it, but like I never was gonna have a really good turn 1 unless I protect and play rough into Kyogre, I guess was my best shot there. Or I could have actually just broken Mimikyu's Disguise. This is still winnable, but it's gonna be a lot tougher. I still suspect there's Will-O-Wisp on the Mimikyu, which is part of the problem. And I can't click Fake Out into it either. Alright, I'm gonna bring out Rillaboom, but I should have expected Life Orb MImikyu. Like, I was thinking there in the worst case scenario, we would survive at least a play rough, but they are Life Orbed, which obviously does not bode well for us. Here, if I'm my opponent, I'm definitely clicking Fake Out onto Zacian. They might get over greedy though and like allow me to just actually KO MImikyu, which is what I'm thinking we go for here. Honestly, even if Zacian gets burnt, it's still winnable, because Zacian is not the carry in this game. Oh, they switch MImikyu out. There's Zapdos coming out. Yep. Okay. So you know, they brought most of the Pokemon I was expecting. It was mainly the Zapdos that was kind of like the wild card. The MImikyu that was the wild card. Okay, the Rocky Helmet, that's good to confirm as well. Yeah, they played this game perfectly. Not much I could have done there other than, I guess, Fake Out sub, but then I have to respect Trick Room going up in that position as well. The upside here is maybe I can snipe off Zapdos with a Play Rough and a Glide next turn. Although, if you're parting shotting here, I think you just switch the... Instant back in for whatever you're bringing out right now. Yeah, that's definitely the play I would go for. So then the question is, maybe the Wincon is getting a crit play rough on his Zapdos. Because if we like one-shot Zapdos, presumably has Roost here. Like, that's the issue. We're already at -1 with Zacian. So yeah, if I'm my opponent, I'm just going MImikyu out into Incin and then roosting with Zapdos. I really see a few good ways out of that. I guess what I could do is U-turn, expecting the Incin to come back in, and then switch. So Zacian switches out into Pelipper. I think this is my only way, because it's this or going for a crit play rough on a Zapdos right now, but I don't really want to depend on a crit. So the logic here is if I U-turn out as you switch into Incineroar, Zacian resets these attack drops, I get Pelipper in safely, and then the U-turn allows me to get Zacian back in. But I don't know. Because the issue is that the Wincon I was saying, oh, they stay in. Then I wonder if -1 play rough and a Glide would have KO'd Zapdos there. Because if that actually KOs, I feel like it does, but I'm honestly not sure. I guess that was the other thing. Yeah, but maybe there's a chance my opponent doesn't switch out, and maybe the play rough and the Glide actually do enough. At -1, I'm not sure. I wouldn't think so, but... yeah. That's fine, though. Like, we were significantly behind based off how I played turn 1 in this game, so I was going to have to try to make some big plays. It was just a Life Orb on MImikyu I, like, basically didn't contemplate. And they get the Will-O-Wisp off. Okay, that should win them the game then. Yeah, brilliantly played. I really do wonder if Zapdos would have hung on to play rough. Like, I'm thinking there, maybe they didn't just respect play rough, or Zapdos is bulky enough that they were confident in surviving a double up. I think both of those logically make a lot of sense to me there. I don't really see a path to victory now, because I have no damage output. It's mainly Zapdos, right? Zapdos was always going to be the primary issue for us, because our only good way of dealing damage into it was play rough from Zacian. Now that we're burnt, it looks really bad. If I'm my opponent, I am switching this out now into Incineroar and just T-bolting. And I just really don't see how we do enough damage at this point in the game. Yeah. This MImikyu completely wrecked me. That was like the wild card that I didn't like really anticipate. They keep staying in with it. Okay. I wonder if... you know what could be a Wincon here? Is actually them setting up Trick Room for us. I'm actually Hurricane reading the Rillaboom switch in and play rough. Okay. Play rough, Will-O-Wisp. I'd guess Trick Room. This turn is interesting because, okay, it's still potentially winnable if we can get like, I don't know, like a confusion maybe onto Zapdos with Hurricane. So I'm going to play Rough Mimikyu again. The Will-O-Wisp onto Rillaboom was what really did me in there. If they went for anything else that turn, it would have been fine, but Zacian being burnt now means I just have very little damage output. And with Zapdos outspeeding, it just does so well into everything we have. But my opponent honestly just played a very clean game here. Yeah, I'm just going to be left wondering if we could have maybe knocked out Zapdos with a -1 Play Rough and Grassy Glide that turn. But Zapdos normally has so much defense investment. Yeah, I'm going to go for another Play Rough here. I'm going to let they Hurricane again and fish for a Confusion onto Zapdos. I think that's our best way of winning right now. Okay, yeah, they do make the switch this time around, so... I kept expecting this, but they were very smart in not switching out the Incineroar the turns I was expecting it to. It was just turn 1. Turn 1 was so well played on their end. Like, I missed out on the opportunity to get a light screen up, although that wouldn't have really been that valuable for us. Yeah, we just deal no damage at this point. Okay, and they go for T-Ball. Yeah, perfectly played. But to be honest, even if I switch in Rillaboom there, it's not going to win us the game, right? Like, yeah, I can make that read of them T-Bolting. But then what? Like, I have Rillaboom out into Instant Zapdos. That just does nothing. So, it's just a really well-constructed team, and my opponent played towards their win cons perfectly. Like, the Zapdos in itself, I had I wouldn't say a very narrow win condition against, but, like, turn 1 could have gone so much better for us, right? It's just risky because Kyogre was such an offensive threat, too. So, I'm looking at this game. This game's over, so, yeah. I'll just forfeit to save them the time. But I'm trying to think what the win condition was, right? Because, like, it was always going to be to deal enough damage to Zapdos. And I think it starts with the lead. I really think, like, my lead wasn't as effective as I wanted it to be. So what would I lead? Like, I don't think Instant is a factor, right? I don't bring that into the game. Grimmsnarl felt fine. It was just running into Life Orb Mimikyu. I could have gone Rillaboom plus Zacian. Because with that, I pressure Fake Out and Sub. And I could also glide Behemoth Blade into Mimikyu. So why didn't I go Rillaboom plus Zacian? Mainly fear of Zapdos, like instant Zapdos. But I think, yeah, if I were to replay that, I'd go, like, even with Rilla Zacian. Like, the main thing is I can't let Mimikyu get an attack off in that game, right? Because it can Will-O-Wisp my 2 primary attackers. And if Zacian gets burned, I literally just have no way to deal damage to Zapdos anymore, especially because it has recovery. So the Will-O-Wisp they went for onto the Rillaboom slot was so well done on their end. But yeah, I think like Instant plus Rillaboom plus Zacian with Pelipper and Grimm in the back would have been better. I honestly wonder if Grimm is even appropriate in this game. Like, I mean, but what else would I bring? Instant doesn't make much sense, and then it would be Lando? And then Lando, like, I don't have Rock Slide, so I can't even really deal that much damage to Zapdos. So, yeah, that was a tough one. I think Zapdos is a very good Pokemon, and if they didn't have, for example, Intimidate from Incineroar or Will-O-Wisp from Mimikyu, then it's like, okay, yeah, we can just play Rough it twice to KO it. But between the Intimidate, the Will-O-Wisp, and the ability for Zapdos to Roost, and it having Rocky Helmet, that stacks up really quickly. So, this is the reason why Zapdos has been a really top pick in Series 10, and I feel like my opponent really, played that game very nicely. The one question is, like, whether or not we had a chance of KOing Zapdos. Like, them staying in makes me think they were confident in surviving a Play Rough and a Grassy Glide, so the thing is, yeah, if, like, let's say we get the knockout there and Zapdos just faints, suddenly that opens the door completely. They would have gone for Will-O-Wisp, would have hit Rillaboom, but then the end game would have been, like, Rillaboom can still break the disguise on Mimikyu, and we had a Pelipper to deal with both the Incineroar and the Kyogre as well. So, yeah, Pelipper could have put in a lot of work in the end game, but as soon as Zapdos hits the field, Pelipper is literally just a sitting duck. So, yeah, can't really offer much. But I feel like those were all really fun games. We played against some really high-level teams, and at the end of the day, like, that one, I could have executed better, my lead could have been better, but it's also not the easiest matchup, and then my opponent played super well, especially just on turn 1, right? Like, they got a free KO on Grimm, and I'm impressed by the power of Life Orb Mimikyu. Mimikyu is not exactly the most common Pokemon in Series 10, but I feel like it fits my opponent's team super nicely. Like, being able to pressure with Trick Room, having Will-O-Wisp, and actually dealing large amounts of damage, like, the combo of all of that is super sweet. Normally when I see Mimikyu, expect it to be more of just a Trick Room setter that doesn't deal as much damage, and so that's one in which my opponent was able to, like, take advantage of the fact that maybe people don't often expect it to just get, like, huge bursts of damage off. So, yeah, kudos to them. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, so thank you so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Thank you to the original creator for the team. Details in the description below, and I'll see you all soon. Alright, peace.